This week on the podcast, we are heading to Vienna for a Stammtisch evening with Anita Landgraf and Arno Steinwender.
The beat of the drums echoes in the pulse beat of the young braves.
Salut les joueuses, salut les joueurs, je suis Paul Gara, je suis à Vienne pour une nouvelle interview et je suis en compagnie d'Anita Landgraf. Salut Anita.
Salut.
We start again because I have forgotten to record the first time. We only have 2 minutes, so it's okay. So you work in to White Castle Agency since 2009 and now you're the manager. Could you explain us to the French audience what White Castle Agency is exactly and what your missions and what is the evolution of the agency since 2009?
So the agency started actually in the early 2000s already, in 2001, and was founded by Ronald Hofstetter, who was a game designer himself. And he started this Monday evening groups of board game playtesting that we still hold on to since then. And he found out that he was kind of the only one who had the time to take prototypes to events, so to go to the Spiel in Essen or go to the Spielwarenmesse in Nuremberg. And so out of this group of friends or fellow game designers, he was the one who took those prototypes and pitched them to publishers. And then he was like, okay, maybe that's a business model as well. And so he started to do that more and more and to professionalize it. And of course, that required more manpower or woman power. And in 2009, I got to know, no, in 2008 already, I got to know them and joined the company. And yeah, then was like in 2011, he was like, he wanted to quit because he was actually, he is actually a creative person. And he wanted to focus again more on that and offered me to buy the company. Okay. And that's what I did.
Oh.
And as you were asking what has changed since then, I mean, we've grown a bit. We are 4 people now. We are proud to have some awards in our pockets, like the Kinderspiel des Jahres and Kennerspiel des Jahres, As d'Or Enfant et As d'Or Initié. And also, I think what I managed to do was to internationalize a bit. I mean, if you check our releases, you will see a lot of German, Austrian names, which comes natural because these are the people I meet most often. But we try to work with a lot of international publishers and also try to work with a lot of international game designers because we love to see what's out there and to get a different view on games rather than having it also Germanized.
Because we are talking with Arno about the vitality of the Austrian scene of board game designer, but you even if they are very close, there is solidarity. You don't want to restrain to the local scene. You want to really to have more contact and more international contacts. In fact, it's what you explain.
Exactly. I think it's good to have that local base here, and it's such a great way to work with people if you see them so often, and we really try to help local game designers to get their first projects done. Maybe the first one is not the first one to be released, but just to finish a first board game project and take all the learning and then start a new one, and maybe the next one is going to be released. So that's the thing we do. But working with internationals, I think it's also helpful for the local group because I get a different view on how to design games. I mean, the whole board game design industry is a lot learning by doing and learning by speaking with others and getting feedback from others. And this is, I think, this applies for all the international board game design groups that I've known so far, because there is game design and game studies at universities, but not particularly for board games.
Okay. So yeah, it's the same in France. When you want to study games, in fact, it's more video games. And I think it's because there are more money you can earn money with that, and most of the time it's so difficult to be only game designer. It's not so easy to earn money with your board games.
I agree. Yeah, and that's why I think that learning something new, you need to look outside of your bubble. And this is also why I try to connect people and also share something of what works within the German bubble, of course. So it's always a two-way thing.
How do you choose which projects and designers you're going to help? As you said, your first mission is somewhere to help locally.
There's 2 focus points on which we base our decisions. One is, does it fit into our comfort zone portfolio?
Okay.
We focus on kids games, family games, party games, more mass market games. We don't do games that would last like a lot more than an hour or have very complicated rules. So in like the lower level of Kennerspiel or Initié would be our comfort zone. And then we have like all the different portfolios that the publishers we work with have. So we screen a game idea, where would it fit? And then could we pitch it? Who could we pitch it to? What chance does it have on the market? What other products are there on the market? So what we do to choose a game is very similar to how a board game editor, product manager would choose, or sourcer would choose their games. But we also have this other focus, which is there a talent in the game designer? Is there an interesting idea in the game design? Is there a person that just maybe needs some help to get
more experience?
Get more experienced, exactly, and to have this first project done, as I mentioned before. And so sometimes I even say that sometimes up front, that I say, look, this is your first project. Not many musicians or poets or writers get their first project released, but it's still worthwhile to pursue that project and to finish that project. And sometimes I even tell that directly and say, I'm not sure if this is going to be released, but it's good to finish it and then take all that and go to the next one. Or sometimes I also say, look, we could tweak a little bit here and tweak a little bit there, because it's a quite decent prototype, but it's just not revolutionary. It's not very, very innovative. It's just very nicely made. You obviously have a talent for game design and be a good heart for it. So why not take this, put it on your shelf, always be proud of it as your very first project, and take everything you've learned and see if you have another idea.
Because sometimes we say that it's more difficult to have the second idea than the first. You have the first idea, you have something coming to your mind, you design a board game, and then after to have a second idea, it's quite difficult. So you help them to make this transition.
Well, yeah, it's a creative process. You can never tell. I mean, of course, if you work on board games professionally and full-time or semi-full-time, you need to have some triggers. You need to find some triggers that help you be creative because you live of it. And I think that if you don't have that pressure, what helps a lot is getting inspired by others. So we do have game designers who come here for many Mondays without their own game idea because they just don't have any at the moment. And then suddenly one morning in the shower, it's like, bam, there it is. And then they have the resource and they know all the people. And it's just easier to come here with a raw prototype because they already know everyone.
We are talking about game design, but do you also help them with communication, commercial issues, legal issues, everything? Because it's not just creating board games, it's more than creating board games. And sometimes we know that game designers are not very interested in legal, commercial communication.
You're totally right. I forgot to fully answer the questions you asked in the first place. What is our job, actually? So yeah, we help with the game design, but of course, the bigger part of our job actually is to be an agent and to find the perfect publishers for the games. So what we do is help the game designers maybe finish a prototype for pitching, sometimes help with the rules, help with translations. It really depends on the specific person or project, what's required there. And then prepare pitches and go to events, or go to the mentioned Essen or Cannes or Nuremberg or I don't know, the Scheitag or wherever, or have online meetings and pitch the games to publishers that we think are right for the game. And then, of course, keep track of everything that happens after, because we will also then send prototypes to the publishers. We will communicate with them, ask them, why haven't you played this yet? Where's the feedback? And also, if there is an interest from a publisher, we take care of all the contract negotiations and also of the finances, of the tax issues that get more and more complicated the more and more international publishers that you work with, and also of making the publishers pay if they're delayed, stuff like that.
We are talking about global projects, in fact, because it's game design, it's commercialization, legal issues, everything. Is there Can you share us a game, a board game, whose development left you a very strong impression that you feel the most involved in? Your best.
I would say every game that we work on has its history, and I have some emotional attachment to it. So it's very difficult to pick out one.
Like children, you don't have your favorite children.
Yes. But I mean, there's always something special if it's the very first release or the first big success of someone. I don't know. Yeah, I have so many fond memories that come up right now of so many different games. It's really difficult to choose one. Of course, it's always like that extra emotional kick if it sells well, if it's on the shelves for a very long time, if it has a lot of fans, or if it wins an award.
Yes, if you have an award, I guess that having an award and especially a Spiel is something like something very.
Yes.
I guess that when you work in board game industry, it's something you dream about.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, so last year the Kinderspiel with Magic Keys was also very special because we licensed it to a Korean publisher, Happy Baobab, with Arno and Marcus being the game designers. They're both Austrian and from our Monday evening meetings, and. We showed it to a lot of other publishers and they were all, it's quite expensive. They didn't dare touch it. It was complicated components. And so we were very happy that Happy Bab immediately spotted that they could also like make that an advantage. And we worked together with the publisher and particularly with the art director, Ian, a lot on the game. And they had some really good inputs. And it was really a teamwork, I'd say, a very, very good teamwork, and every step on the way made the game better. And then it was also cool that we had found the Game Factory taking the German license, who were also so very happy about it. And then when it won the Spiel, it was the first Korean board game that won a Spiel award. And we also were responsible for the very first Korean game that was released in German, which was Coconuts, like more than 10 years ago. So we were a bit hyped in Korea for a while. That's pretty cool. So that's a recent memory. But as I said, it's so special that like literally everyone in the industry is so nice and interesting and good person to play and talk with, that every project resolves in good memories.
We were talking about the authors, the game designers of Magic Keys, Marcus and Arno. And you often meet Austrian board game designer because every Monday, as you said, there is this prototype night. Do you think that there is a specificity, a specific signature of the Austrian board game scene?
I think there is a specific support in the Austrian board game scene. I mean, I see this, of course, in other countries as well.
In Italy, I know that there are game designers are very, very close.
Also in Poland, I know there's a very strong community in Poland. Maybe it just started to happen earlier here. I don't know. Part of that, I mean, there's many kinds of game designers all over the world. So there's the very optimizer target group game designers and the ones that focus a lot on gimmicks maybe. I think it's maybe the mix, like Austria sits between so many cultures, like in the middle of it, and if you look at an Austrian from this angle, he might look quite German. If you look at him from the other angle, he might look Croatian. So I think that can also be seen in the game designs, because they're not also typically German, but there are some there are some inspirations from all the game cultures, I'd say.
We are talking about prototypes nights. Everybody comes with his board games, his prototypes, and it's very open to show the others his board games, to have a debrief.
Yeah, it really is meant to be open. As more and more people come, I keep thinking about making it more closed, but so far it still works. So far it's still manageable. Because back in the days we were usually maybe one table or sometimes two, and now we're usually 3 or 4. But I try to keep it open because I like that you can you walk out of work and you're like, no, today I don't go home. I go to the game designers meeting and I don't have to have anything prepared. I can always be there. I can even I still have the prototype from last week in my pocket. Maybe we could try it again, even though I didn't change a thing. So I really like that aspect. And we only have like a gentleman's agreement about a few things, which is that if you come and bring a prototype and it's played, then you should also play at least one other person's prototype. And that you shouldn't hold back with critique and feedback, but be polite, which is not always easy. Can get very emotional sometimes. And also, we don't play long games here. So if it's a game that lasts longer than an hour, I would rather ask the game designer to arrange a meeting with us in our office and we play it there. Because if we played long board games here, then we couldn't just get through everything.
You don't have time for the others' prototypes. Okay. If you're okay, we're going to talk about the place of women in the board game industry, because you are a manager, and we know that board games are more a men world. More game designers are male, and more publishers are male. And what is your impression of the evolution of the place of women in the board game industry since you start to work in?
Through the time I've been in the agency, I think there was a strong change going on. There are so many female game designers who are also recognized, not as co-designers or not only children's games. I think that's really been something that the whole industry was aspiring to. Because when I started back in the days, I was one of very few women. But everyone was like, yeah, we need more. We want more because we also want more women to play games.
Yes.
And the more games are designed by female game designers, maybe that also opens up that whole market for more people to play. And I think that did happen in some ways, because we see more games which are not about resource gathering and war and majorities of some kind. So I think that's a good thing. I must admit that you can see it in our Monday meeting. We hardly have any women here. And I think that's one big issue that is not so easy to get away with. It's a lot of not professionalized work that you have to do in your free time, because getting to the point where you can live of it takes quite a long time. And I think there's more men who have the whole network surrounding them, supporting them to get that done, to be free that every Monday evening or even a second evening a week to get games tested, because how many board game design test groups will you find during the day? It's just more difficult, or have the weekends off or so. So I think that's something that still needs to be addressed. There's more options maybe for women who also have families to get the chance to do that. And most people started as a hobby. I also think that there's more men who think that their hobby, what gets out of their hobby, is so amazing that it needs to be like shared with the whole world. And females are mostly like, yeah, but is that good enough? I'm not sure. And I see that with many prototypes that I get. And then sometimes when a woman starts to design a game, suddenly at the end of the project, a male co-designer name pops up. It's like, oh, and by the way, this man has helped me design the game. And I'm like, yeah, but it's hardly ever the other way around.
Okay.
So the other way around, it's always, oh, and this is my girlfriend, and she helps with the testing.
Okay.
But let's not get too deep into that. Like in general, I think it's a good way that we are on.
Do you think that some famous board game designer like Elizabeth Hargrave, the author of Wingspan, helps women to start creating, because they say, okay, this woman do this. She was alone, no co-author, no boyfriend on the cover. Maybe we can. It's not just a children board game. I don't have nothing against children board game, but we agree that most of the time Wingspan won the Kennerspiel. So maybe, do you think it was an inspiration for female board game designers?
I think Wingspan was definitely an inspiration for board game designers, but more so for the people working in the industry. I think this started a whole series of events, particularly targeting women, like the Hasbro Women's Game Design Award that they launched. And also, for example, we have this little, like, tiny gathering of German females working in the industry, meeting for play tests, which I just got back from. And I think it's easier to sell these projects and these special projects targeting females with that name. So I really think it has changed.
We were talking about board game designers, but there are not so many women which leads a publishing company. We always think about Sophie Gravel, but maybe she's one of the only example we have in mind.
Yeah, and she did it again. Shout out to Sophie.
She's crazy.
In a good way.
You manage a company. It's not so often in the board game industry.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, we just spoke about it yesterday, actually. That there's only one female-run board game company in Germany.
Okay.
When that released Kelp, and we were wondering why. I mean, there's so many traditional companies, like particularly in Germany with Ravensburger and Schmidt-Spiele and so on. And there must have been at some point a female heir of someone taking it over, but apparently there wasn't. And I think that's also a good development that at least there's Sophie, and I also imagine that she can be inspiring, or that also the few women who are in charge can be inspiring for females to trust in their to trust their guts and to trust that. What they came up with is also important enough to share it with the world. And Happy Baobab, by the way, is also run
you're
by
right.
a woman.
Yes, I was thinking about that there is a woman at the head of Happy Baobab, yes. And just to finish the discussion, can you tell us if you were a board game player before working at White Castle, or you discover board games by working here? Or?
I grew up to be a nerd. So my beloved older brother, he introduced me to board games when I was little, and we played a lot of board games. The two of us, or also with the neighbors, and then with my family, we played more traditional card games and such. And then when we grew older, my brother introduced me to Dungeons and Dragons.
Okay.
So I was allowed to be part of his group there as well. And then I even for a time joined their role-playing club. And I've always played more of the nerd stuff, like miniature games and Hero Quest. And
yes.
These kinds of games. But when I started to study and started to work in that board games cafe in Vienna, in the Brot und Spiele, they had more of the casual games.
Okay.
And I was, before that, I would rather play 4 hours of Munchkin than play a game of, I don't know, Carcassonne.
Ouais.
But working there, I found the beauty in all these family games as well. And so I just spread my interests, and now I prefer a game of Carcassonne to a 4-hour game of Munchkin.
You wanted to work in board games, or it was the beauty of the fate?
It was the beauty of the fate, yeah. I was there at the right. I didn't think about it. Who does?
Yes.
In the first place, you know. I didn't think about who made those games, so I didn't. The only game designer name I knew was Steve Jackson.
Okay, oui, of course.
And the only publishers I knew were Ravensburger and Pegasus. Mm-hmm. No, I didn't think about it. And when I met this game design group, I was like, oh, right, there have to be people coming up with those games. And I was so interested in what they do that it was usually that Monday evenings back in the days were not very busy. So I had the time to play test with them and to read their rules and criticize their rules. And that's how I got into this. But I know I didn't think there were jobs in this at all.
And now it's you work with them, and so...
Yep. And as I said, we are 4 now in the company, and we are 3 women.
Whoa,
and
great.
1 guy.
So great.
Yeah.
Yes.
So great.
Thank you so much, Anita, for your time, the invitation, and talking with me.
C'était un plaisir. Merci.
Merci beaucoup. Et en plus, tu parles français très bien, en vrai. Super. Merci encore, en tout cas.
À bientôt.
À bientôt.
So I'm in Vienna in vacation, and I take the time to go to Spielbar, and I am with somebody that you have already listened in this podcast, Arno Steinwender. Hello, Arno.
Salut, nice to meet you again. Hi, guys.
Nice to meet you again. So Arno, can you explain us the concept? Why you are here tonight? What are you doing here tonight?
Well, I come here for, I think it's 20 years now, and it's almost every Monday I come here because here is the White Castle Games Agency. I think that's the right name. Stammtisch, it's called. So we meet here. We are authors from Vienna, basically. And yeah, we show our games, we brainstorm together, and we develop new games for and with the agency.
When we met in Berlin, you told me that there was a great solidarity between Austrian board game designers, that you often work together to show prototypes and to debrief.
Yeah, that's right. And I think one main reason for that is this event here that takes place every Monday. And that we have some gaming bars or cafes in Vienna where you meet other authors very easily. And if you look around here, there are sitting around 15 authors. Some of them are very experienced, like me, or complete newbies. And well, all of them have some ideas, and we talk about that and test each other's games, and we get really great feedback from that. And that's what's very important for designing a game, to get a quality feedback, a hard one.
And sometimes it's hard to get this feedback from the other game designers. Do you think there are more difficult audience than just players, like usual players or casual players?
Yes, they are more difficult, but that's good, because if you play with your family or your wife or your man, then maybe they like you very much and they say, "Oh, it's a nice game, I liked it," and yeah, you don't need that. You really need a hard feedback, and therefore you need a hard test round. And that's good to test here.
And sometimes there are prototypes that you say, okay, no, it doesn't work. And maybe 1 year later, 2 years later, I don't know, you come back with these prototypes and you show them again.
Yes. Or 5 years or 10 years. I have some games that are in my drawer for more than 10 years. And they come out of the drawer from time to time, every 2 or 3 years. I show them around to my other colleagues here, to my agent. And yeah, most of the games go back to the drawer, but some of them stay because Florian or Marcos or Johannes, some of those guys has an idea and says, "Oh, Guy, that's a great idea. Let's work together on that." Sometimes it works like that. It takes a lot of time, and most of the games take a long time, even the basic idea to develop it, to make it a fun game out of that.
We are going to talk about Magic Keys, the game who won the Kinderspiel des Jahres award. You showed it this prototype here?
Yes. Actually, Marcus and me, we met together here for the first time. So we started working together 5 or 6 years ago, I think, and we brought out 2 or 3 games. And then we had the idea to Clef Magique. And yeah, we tested it here a lot of times, maybe 50 games we played here. And then, of course, we also went to the children testing groups, because it's a children game. You have to test it with your audience group, of course. But it's always good to test it in advance with adults, because they give hard feedback, really. I mean, not as hard as the children give you the feedback, because if it's not working and it's not fun, the children throw it in the corner and it's done. So yeah, but we played it often, very often here, and make some twitches, and it took us a long time also to get all the fine details that make the game great.
When we met in Berlin, it was just the day after the ceremony. You have just won. We were very happy. It was just, yes. And now, 8 months later, things have changed. Do you think these board games have changed your life, or what have changed with this award?
Well, I'm still very happy. Of course, it's something different if you ask me one day after the ceremony, because the emotions were really, really high. But it's still the same, that when we talk about it now, I feel the emotion and I feel the happiness still. 8 months later, because I'm so happy that Marcus and I won with this fabulous game. It's something you dream about as a game inventor, and I dreamt about that for 20 years, or I didn't dream about it anymore. I don't know. So when you finally get this really, really great award, it's awesome. It's something in my career as a game inventor that maybe never comes back. But I hope it will, because Marcus and me are working on some other really, really nice children games, and we will see more of that next year in Nuremberg at the Spielmannmesse 2026.
Okay.
We can show you a brand new, really awesome game of the two of us. But yeah.
And from a commercial point of view, I guess that this award helps to release this board game, Magic Keys, on other markets. And we were talking off of the record of the difficulties of with US market, for example. This time.
Yeah. So of course the game sold very, very nice for the last Christmas season. And there are different countries coming now and bringing out the game. And of course, there are some difficulties, as we all know, when we look to the US market. The game was in discussion. I think we are going to be on hold now because we don't know what's going to be with tariffs that Trump makes next. So, this kind of game you have to produce in China, because otherwise you couldn't get the plastic chest and the keys with the magic inside. So you couldn't pay for that. So it has to be made in Asia, and it's very hard to get in the US market, for example. But in Europe, there are several countries that will bring out the magic keys, and I hope and I think, as far as I heard now, the numbers of the game, it will be many, many years from now. It will still be in the shelves, I hope. Okay. So I hope it's going to be a long seller and make fun for the kids for many, many years.
We are going to talk about your project, your new board games. I was thinking about your signature, but I think you seem to like to design very, very different board games, all the kind of board games for children, for family, or more for hardcore gamers. You don't have to try to use the same mechanics that you try to improve. No, you want to discover all the kind of mechanics and.
Yeah, kind of. So I have my favorite games, or directions I like. What I do not like, or I'm not good at, I would say, is making too strategic games with a lot of different cards and characters you can play. That's not my game style, not my type. That's I like to play it from time to time, but I'm not good at inventing. What I'm good at inventing, what I know from now, is quiz games, party games, word games, or something where you have to explain or do something like this, or children games. So everything that's fun for me. I always try to invent something like that, and that's short rules, easy to explain. Played in 10 to 15 minutes, and in the best case, you want to play it again and again. Okay. So that's my game I want to focus, but on the mechanics, it's a wide range. I like to try different stuff, and
it's your evolution as a board game designer, because you create board games from a long time now. You told us, so maybe you have an idea at the beginning of your career, and now you have not it has changed. Your feelings about creating board games have changed.
That's a lot of change. I mean, when I look back 20 years, I was just there with my printer and with the pair of scissors, and with no plan at all how to make a game. Mm-hmm. And now when I look at my work area, I have 3D printers and laser cutters and different printers and that. And I have so much more experience now, because I look at an idea in my brain, in my head, and I categorize it. Is there a chance that this game is new? Is there a chance that this game makes fun, and so on? And if not, it's going out of my head and it's not going to be a prototype. So I save much more time, because I have a lot of experience now, and I don't have to go all the ways to see, the game is not funny. It's just boring. All the people say it's boring, so it is boring. And I now already know in my head very often. So I still have to playtest, of course.
Of course.
But the experience helps a lot. And also what helps a lot is to know people, to know the right people to play your game with, to get feedback with, or also to show your game ideas in the game industry.
We were talking about having a co-author rather than creating board games on your side alone. And you told me that it was your favorite way of creating, to have a partner, in fact, to have what we said in French, I don't know in English, ping pong.
Yeah, we say it in German too. It's ping pong or Tischtennis. So, yeah, we play a creative ping pong. One has an idea and says it out loud, and the other one ping pongs his thoughts about this idea back. And in the best case, with the right people, when you work together with the right people and you have minds that fit together well, a really good game can come out. A much more better game, I think, if you do it just by yourself and just do it every step by yourself. I think it's not just a better game, but it's, in the first place, it's much, much more fun to develop the games, and that's what I want to do when developing games. I want to have fun, and then I want to produce fun and give the fun to the players. But I also want to have fun to do the games, so I prefer to make it with a co-author. Yeah.
Your next board games release, you can.
Yeah, I already get confused with the question because I make so many games.
Yes.
So you have to ask my agent. I know.
Or when you want to talk about when new board games are going to be released soon. You don't know when, but
Haber, for example, released a quiz game last Nuremberg, and there are gonna be new games of this series, of this quiz series. Also, there is Stadtland Fluss. I don't know what it's called in English. So a fast reaction game where you have to go for categories at Moses. It was released now, and there is a new game coming at Game Factory with an electronic timer. That's gonna be lots of fun.
Okay.
There's gonna be a big children game next year at Schmidt-Spiele or Drei Magier by Marcus and me. We are hoping to see this game in the stores because it's gonna be beautiful and has a really awesome gimmick. It's kind of the league of the Magic Chest. And yeah, there's another great quiz fun game at Hoch coming out. Some new game at Moses, I think. So a lot of games I know for certain for the next years. And now I'm working on games for the year 2027 or 8. So we are always in advance 3 or 4 years. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Arno. You told me that you have not so many time, but we managed to do it. It was so cool because it's you invite me tonight. So it was so nice from you. Thank you so much. Merci beaucoup encore. See you soon. Maybe in Essen. I think in Essen.
Yeah, maybe.
Yes.
It was so nice that you dropped by, and was nice talking to you again. And au revoir, à bientôt.
Oh, merci beaucoup. Au revoir.
Au revoir.
Au revoir.
These interviews have been recorded in Vienna on April 7th, 2025. And as usual, this episode is produced by Polgara and Hammer. Our show is completely independent. Its contents are free, as in free speech, and we are not sponsored. Follow Polgara's account on Facebook, X, Blue Sky, and Instagram. Thank you for listening to Le Point de Polgara, and until next time for a new episode.